Hey y'all. Today I got a few deer heads to skin out. I'm gonna be doing some Euro mounts this week. So hopefully tomorrow. It's supposed to be a little warmer. Just thought I'd walk you through the process of it while I'm doing it. So I like to use a razor blade most of the time. Just get down, to the bone. Cuts easier. I put a brand new blade on every time, or anytime it starts getting dull. So you can use a knife, whatever you want to use. It dulls them up a little bit if you hit the bone anywhere, but try not to hit the bone because it will show. If you're cutting too deep, too hard, trying to get through the skin of it, the fur, it's gonna scratch up that skull and it'll show on your Euro mount. So if you're gonna bring me a deer, I'd rather you either not do it and let me skin it, or just, be aware that if you cut too deep, it's gonna mark up your skull for you, and your finished product won't be as good as it could be. So just be aware of it. But all right, get started. I usually take the ears off first, just kind of get them out of my way. Just one less thing sticking out. And it can give you a good gauge of how deep you can cut. Normally, if I know that I'm doing a Euro mount for somebody, as I'm processing the deer, during the skinning process, I'll just skin it. I'll skin the head out while it's hanging. It just makes it easier working with, gravity instead of against it. But as you can see, once you get that first ear cut, you can just keep going right with it and just ride that cheekbone or wherever you're at. And it being winter time, most of the time they're still half frozen, but I've had the heater going on them for a while today, so we're pretty good. Also, if you are gonna bring me or anybody, if you're gonna take your deer head to somebody after, that's not processing your deer, make sure you keep that deer head frozen, or real cold at least, because you don't want it rotting. The more that meat sits on the bone and the greases start coming out from it getting hot or warmed up, whatever, that grease is gonna start penetrating and staining the deer skull, and just makes, again, for not as good of an end product as you would like. So keep it frozen, keep it cold, or get it to your taxidermist, whoever it is, as fast as you can. Don't let it sit around for months, get full of maggots, or sit outside. Most guys are gonna charge you extra for that. I never did in the past, but I'm gonna be one of those guys because I don't wanna have to deal with maggots. It's gross. All right, so once you're getting towards the top of the skull here, come from the back and just make sure you're pulling as much tension as you can on the skin while you're cutting. That just keeps you away from the top of the skull. That way you're not cutting against it, nicking it. If you're gonna cut it, do it nice and easy, but just a real shallow cut, just enough to get your blade underneath there, and then kind of turn your knife to the side and fillet it out. Just try not to cut deep into that skull plate. Like I said, it will show. All right, so you can mess with the fur around the base of the antler here if you want. I really don't care to put that much time and effort into it. It's gonna boil off and you just spray it off with a power washer, but to each their own. But now, once you get that done, once you get it skinned as well as you want to go through and get any of the extra meat that you can get. You want to get as much off as you can because it's just less boiling time that you have to do, which the longer you boil it, the higher the chances are that you're going to have bone start falling apart, you know, your nasal cavity, all that's going to start coming off, which is pretty normal. So you just glue it back on at the end, but you still want to try not to lose that if you can, because anything can happen when you're power washing it. They blow away in the yard, you know, they get mixed up. You want to try to limit the boiling time. But I do boiling. I also do the warm water maceration, which is a lot easier on them. They'll still fall apart with that too, but it's a better finished product. It pulls a lot more of the grease off than the boiling, but it takes longer, and I don't have a setup to do a lot of them at a time, so I'll limit that to my younger deer. Anything that is not going to hold together good. I've done button bucks for children's first deer and had to boil those because I didn't do the maceration at that time, and it was a job trying to keep that thing together. From now on, it'll be maceration for stuff like that. Any young deer, smaller animals, something like that, I'm doing maceration for sure. But once you get all that hair off, like I was saying, and the meat as much as you can, then you got to work on the bottom jaw, which is basically just a struggle. There's nothing real delicate about it, no real big technique. You just kind of follow the jaw line, and you're just going to cut as much as you can. Cut that, you know, inside lip there as deep as you can. Follow it around. It's got a little bit of an arch to it where it goes back, and just cut. This one's still frozen a little bit, so I'm going to put it in front of the heater for a minute, or I'm never going to get this thing separated. But yeah, just follow it around. I usually cut down this V of the bottom jaw and get all that meat out. Grab the tongue, get that out, and it kind of gives me more of a grip to hold on to the bottom jaw. You just got to pry it apart. It's just sheer willpower, really. But yeah, just do it. I'll be back and I'll videotape that process as soon as this thing falls out a little bit. All right, that's as far as I'm going on it. The rest will boil off and I'll spray it with the power washer. But yeah, just get there's a big chunk back here in the back of the spine. If you just don't separate that, do it, try to do that before you boil too, but even if you don't, it'll boil off. But yeah, just get as much as you can off, get that lower jaw off, put some muscle into it and get her done. I'll have a full boiling and whitening process coming up sometime this weekend. So stay tuned for that. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you later.